So right here we've got fresh mushies, fresh mushrooms coming out of this tree. This is an old dead hemlock. You can tell by the bark, comparing the bark nearby to the living ones. And then all around it are these little hemlock greens. So these might have sprouted a few days ago because I already saw some bugs scurry away from them. See that? So you really got to get mushrooms like as soon as they sprout. But these are actually reishi or reishi, which is a very prized mushroom. There's a couple different kinds, but these ones coming out of a hemlock tree are called hemlock reishi. But on my return walk, I'm gonna probably try to take some of these with me and maybe I can dry them out. It's got proven, scientifically validated medicinal benefits. Back here you can see some older ones that maybe they came around last year. But really neat, very valuable. Something I'd probably try to cultivate if I had some space for some mushrooms. I think reishi tends to come out earlier in the summer, whereas other popular mushrooms, let's say chicken of the woods, tend to come out in the fall. And mushrooms are very affected by temperature and moisture, so you tend to have a very common cycle of temperature and weather patterns that gets them to fruit. Typically it's like really high heat followed by rain, or vice versa. For example, in the fall, as the average temperature cools, you'll get like a heavy rain and then it will warm up and then you'll see a bunch of mushrooms sprout or fruit. And that's like an evolved mechanism to understand, hey, it's getting cold. This is gonna be one of our last times to do this. They're not necessarily like plants, where plants are very affected by the light cycle, the time of day, how long the sun comes out. Mushrooms are photosensitive, but they typically are just photosensitive enough to know where the surface of whatever they're growing in is. So once they hit the light, they stop and they keep growing, because the actual body of the mushroom, the mycelium, the stuff that you don't see, the invisible stuff, the thread-like web, that's the actual body. And the part of the mushroom you see is just the fruiting body that's just created specifically to make spores. Well, I can't deal with these bugs anymore. So there you go. The fungus among us. Random to that mushroom video, this is a trick from Paul Stamets. Those reishis I stuck on my dash to dry out in the heat and the sunlight. And apparently if you flip a mushroom upside down, expose the gills, and dry it like that, beyond just drying them out, according to Paul Stamets, those mushrooms will continue to accumulate vitamin D. And interestingly enough, mushrooms are closer related to animals than they are to plants. So, like humans exposed to UV rays, those mushrooms will develop vitamin D and become more enriched, but I'll try to look up some more facts when I get home on reishi mushrooms. Go to any public scientific database that compiles research like PLOS One, or on the other one I opened up PubMed, and you punch in Ganoderma, which is the genus, see what kind of results it pulls up. You'll see here on PLOS One you got 282 results for Ganoderma, and I put in the specific species here, Ganoderma tsugai, on PubMed, and got 2,500 results. Again, this isn't specific. A lot of the results just pulled up the genus Ganoderma, but we could scan through some of the titles. You'll find a lot of stuff on tumor reduction, or what they call tumor apoptosis, which means cell death. Ergosterol peroxide isolated from Ganoderma lucidum abolishes microRNA mediated tumor cells on chemoresistance. And another thing you'll find, which has been noted by Paul Stamets, cultures in the West, like America, we tend to be a bit what you might call mycophobic. We're largely afraid of mushrooms. They scare us for good reason too. There's a lot of very toxic ones, and if you make a mistake, you'll die. So good reason for mycophobia. But in cultures like Japan or China, they have a much more ancient relationship with mushrooms, and therefore their scientific literature is also more broad. So you'll see a lot of this research comes from Asian countries like Japan and China. If you go over to the PubMed, they show the results by year. You can see that really there wasn't a lot of results starting to pop up until right here around year 2000. It starts to go up exponentially, and you see like there's a few dozen in 2000s, early 2000s, and then as you go over, it starts to get up into the hundreds. Pulling up a couple of those results, a similar thing. Polysaccharides, those are complex sugars. They tend to be very medicinal in plants and fungi. Read a little bit of the synopsis. Ganoderma named Lingzhi in China has been used for centuries as drug and nutraceutical to treat diseases. Based on our research and other literatures, the chapter summarizes the progress of preparation, structural features and properties, bioactivities of Ganoderma polysaccharides. Ganoderma, insights into anti-cancer effects. Genus Ganoderma includes about 80 species growing on cut or rotten trees. The most commonly used species is Ganoderma lucidum, which is your common reishi. Biomolecules responsible for the health benefits of Ganoderma are polysaccharides with an immunostimulative effect and triterpenes with a cytotoxic action. Used for more than 2,000 years, it's been used traditionally in the treatment of various pathological conditions, and recently its immunoregulatory, antiviral, antibacterial, antioxidant, hepatoprotective, and anti-cancer potential has been confirmed. A wide range of Ganoderma extracts and preparations arrest the cell cycle in different phases and consequently inhibit the growth of various types of cancer cells. Extracts containing polysaccharides stimulate immunological reactions through the production of various cytokines and mobilization of immune system cells. In vivo studies have confirmed the anti-cancer potential and anti-metastatic effects of compounds originating from Ganoderma. Triterpenoids and an alkemide from Ganoderma tsugai, so this one's specifically from our species. Ganoderma tsugai is a medicinal mushroom. In a continual study on the bioactive constituents of this fungus, a new lanostanoid, I'm not even going to attempt to read that right now, named sugaric acid F, and a novel palmitamide, again I'm not going to read that, were isolated and characterized from the fruit bodies of Ganoderma tsugai. The results indicated that 4 and 7 may be used as cancer chemopreventative agents. And one last little quick summary. Ganoderma tsugai induced ROS-independent apoptosis and cytoprotective autophagy in human chronic myeloid leukemia cells. Autophagy is self-eating. That's how that would break down in scientific terms. This study used ethanol-extracted Ganoderma tsugai and examined its anti-tumor activities on the human chronic myeloid leukemia cells. Treatment with GT 200 to 400 micrograms per milliliter significantly reduced cell viability and caused G2M arrest in K562 cells. So these are lab terms to designate what kind of cells they're studying. In addition, GT induced mitochondrial and death receptor mediated apoptosis. Again, that word just means cell death. In summary, Ganoderma tsugai demonstrated anti-tumor activity against human chronic myeloid leukemia. That concludes episode 1 of 25 Maine Fungi. If you liked this new series, hit that like button or drop a comment. That teaches the algorithm, and it also teaches me. I got a couple more plant episodes coming. They're in the editing bin now, and I've got a couple, I guess, more politically themed videos. I've got episode 2 coming for my unrestricted war selected readings, and I have a little rant about some current events. And then I also need to get that episode done about alternative platforms that I've been thinking about for a few weeks now. So that's it. Peace out, everybody.